No, Hansen published his doctoral thesis.
189 cases.
And I had a copy, but I mean it's misplaced probably, and I had this dedicated, and that was the history of all the CLL cases. It's something very similar to what the David Galton did, as a matter of fact. And one of the co-authors there was Christian Gessler, which is still active. Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't have a copy.
Sure.
And this is the only one I have.
Sure.
But this is the abstract. So, and this is the very first time in Barcelona in which we had the abstracts. So it's this is the very first time in which we had edited abstracts, as far as I remember. But this is the only one I have. I'm sorry. I mean it's.
Well, maybe sometime I can arrange for some funding to have it copied.
No, I can copy it for you. No, I can copy it for you. No,
because it would be, it's obviously a very important document.
I can copy it for you. It's not a problem. I will keep it aside. I can copy it for you. So this is what happened here. So well, that was a joke.
Okay.
But I said that this was really in the days in which. By the way, what is your field? CLL. Oh, are you crazy or what?
Yeah.
And I like very much this photography. Because, I mean, this is the complexity. I mean, it's that the two guys succeed in not disputing. I mean, because of the different classifications.
I took a photograph of them once, and I could never get over how that history chapter that I wrote, and I put the picture in of Benet and Rai together, and he was so thrilled that the picture was together rather than separate.
Now you have here, I mean, it's very small in size,
sure,
but
sure.
Still, again, this is Rothman. Do you see, right here, this is Leonard.
Yes, Carl Leonard.
Okay.
That was before
this is Pangalis. You see, here is Federico Caligaris Capio, Garton, Mike Keating.
Yes.
This is Bob, Estella Matutes here.
Yes.
Along with, this is Barlogi.
Barlogi came to a CLL. Wow, that must have been beneath his dignity.
Bissell. Robin Ford.
Yes, with a
this,
beard.
that's Tom Kipps.
Yes.
This is the Mayo Clinic guy, Neil Kay.
Neil Kay.
Yeah, Neil Kay. So, Terry Hamlin.
Yes.
Which is sick, as you know.
Yes.
So I mean, it's I will
that photo. Now that since that's 1991, that's the number 5.
That's and then it's the 5th international.
Yes.
With
the how do you pronounce that?
Sieges.
Sieges. Okay.
60 scientists. So different. And well, this is the
2009. Okay.
Committee. Yeah.
And this is Halleck.
This is Michael Halleck. Peter Hillman.
Oh, that's Hillman, yes.
Donna.
Oh yeah, Hans.
I would strongly recommend you, if you have not done yet, to talk to Daniel Gutowski.
Oh, I have every intention.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel has been just an incredible.
Because of the founder members, I mean, it is very is interesting. Because of the founding members, the only founding members left, it's Kanti, it's Daniel, myself, and Guillaume. But Guillaume is almost retired. Daniel is half retired. I am half retiring. And Kathy, nobody knows.
Di Guillermo is in Brazil?
No. He was born and grew up in Montevideo.
Oh, Uruguay.
He had to escape Montevideo for political reasons. And then he moved to Paris, where we met Jacques Binet. And once he retired, he wanted to give back to his country something, and he came back to Montevideo. He built up a so-called Pasteur Institute in Montevideo.
That's right.
Yeah. But now I think that he is back in Paris.
Okay.
Because all his children and grandchildren all the family is based in Paris. Well, you know what happens when you leave your country. I mean, it's so you belong to where the children and your grandchildren are. So it's up to you. You have to let me know. I mean, what is the kind of material that you need, and certainly, I mean, I will copy this for
Yes,
you.
I think that slide lecture, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
And the critical thing about this is Alberto has a copy of that, or something similar to it.
Mhm.
And one of the things which I knew but relearned is it's important to identify all the people.
Yeah.
Actually to have some kind of template that maps the person, because
for this photography should not be that difficult.
No, but I didn't know that Tom Kipps had a beard.
Alberto's here.
Alberto
is here in the corner.
Yes.
Here. This is the guy from. This is the guy from Jerusalem. And this is the guy from Australia. So it should be really easy. This is the Rossi that then he decided to move to the field of pediatrics. This is a guy from the Yugoslavia, Jaksic,
the TTM classification.
And this is his boss, Jaksic, and what was the name of Jaksic? But we will end up with all these names. Huh? And this is, still active, and so he was a very young person. Remember the guy that made, along with Bob Gale, Careful.
He recently published a paper on
a critique about
light,
a critique in Blood about the new
RFC light.
This Careful. This one, honestly, I don't remember. But I mean, we'll
figure it out.
And I think that this is the famous B-cell biologist. Okay, so it's
Stevenson?
No. What is?
It looks too old to be Ciriaso? No.
And here is Juliusson, Polyak, Aaron Polyak.
Yeah.
Eva Kimby is there as well. Then there are many of my associates, and so I think that she is Junia Melo that work because very memorable, because at the very beginning there were the two ladies, Estella and Junia, working along with Katowski, and afterwards, I mean, Junia decided.
Well, because you mentioned Junia, that brings up an important concept, I think, in the history of CLL, and that is those individuals who had as their European medical thesis on CLL. Mm-hmm. And Junia had 4 papers that appeared in the British Journal of Hematology that came out of her, primarily the beginnings of the natural history of the changes in the blood film.
Yeah.
And Alberto, of course, his was immunophenotyping and somewhat morphology in sense of the large cell CLL. And even David Galton's thesis is his medical thesis. And then we've talked already about Hansen. When you were talking about not being able to find his copy, his was published in the Scandinavian Journal of Hematology, which no longer exists. It's been changed to the European Society of Hematology. But Dr. Galton gave me his signed copy of Hansen's Scandinavian single-bound copy. I've tried to figure out how to get the right consent, because I think that book should be published or made available to this community, just like David Galton's thesis, or for that matter, leukocythemia. They should be part of a history class or a history course.
But it would be, I think, the easiest thing should be to talk to Christian Gessler, maybe.
Oh, might know. Oh, yeah.
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 I mean, at least he has a copy, and I should have a copy as well, unless for whatever the reason I lost it. Although I am very careful, and I don't give these books to anyone. Maybe it's lost somewhere, so I will let you know.
It'll show up.
But particularly, what would be very interesting is to have those who are signed by the authors.
Yes.
I mean, this
It increases their value.
absolutely.
At least their sentimental value.
Absolutely.
Now, in terms of other people in CLL, one person that I'm concerned with locating is Teresa Valespi. Valespi.
She's there.
Okay.
She's there.
Okay.
She is a very similar history to what happened with Estella Matutes. She was an associate of mine, and doing a lot of work on CLL. And her doctoral thesis is on CLL.
Perhaps the overlap syndrome?
No.
No.
No. A very nice study with color plates in British Journal of Hematology. I mean, she of course is the first author. I am the senior. And is on morphology, on different morphological types of CLL. And afterwards, she left our institution, she moved to another institution, and just by accident, because these things happen that way, he switched to MDS.
Okay.
And it's a funny history, because John Bennett gave me a call and said, Emili, you know, I'm going to be in Barcelona such and such date, and so I organized a small meeting, and Teresa was there, and these were the days in which the FAB group was preparing the very first MDS classification, and John was bringing the manuscript with corrections. I hope that Teresa has kept it. I don't know. And then, I mean, she got interested in MDS, and she abandoned the CLL, and now is an MDS person. Yeah.
Also, Junia Melo.
Junia Melo.
Abandoned CLL.
Well, Junia Melo was.
I
I like quoting Junia Melo, particularly when she is present, because she laughs at me. Because when talking about the morphological variants of CLL, and I like to make the point that the person who make the clear-cut distinction, between prolymphocytic leukemia, prolymphocytoid transformation, that was Junia. Yeah. And Junia says, Emilio, never forget that I am a molecular biologist now.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
So,
who else are you interested in locating?
let's see. I think that Teresa, did Estella Matutes ever have a medical thesis?
Yes, and and again, I would bet my life that her doctoral thesis is on CLL.
Okay, that I don't know, but I'm wondering.
Yeah,
So
I remember very well that we published in a local journal a number of papers with Estella, and we were working in the bench with the e-rosettes and all this stuff, and she did well. That was tough work, but the very first correlation, I would say, between immunoglobulin levels and infections, but her doctoral thesis, I don't know whether it was prepared in Barcelona or when she had already moved to London. This I don't know, but it is just a matter of asking her.
Now, one of the other things that emerges, and I don't think it's unique to CLL, it's more the evolution of hematology and perhaps even medicine, but it was the effect that immunology had on hematology/CLL. And many of the people who began immunophenotyping in CLL actually did so before flow cytometry.
Yeah.
They were using surface immunofluorescence and
I
maybe
did.
cytoplasm.
I did.
And you kind of gave it away when you
Yeah.
said e-rosettes,
Yeah.
because that was a
I
pretty
did.
manual method.
I did, and we did that in cooperation with the immunology department because they were the only ones. And yeah, I mean, because immunofluorescence was not yet there. So, these very funny studies, I mean, looking at T cells, but looking at e-rosettes, and again, I mean, I'm talking, I mean, the point I was making before about putting the things on perspective. When you consider the way in which we were measuring T cell immunity in CLL 20, 30 years ago, and the kind of techniques we have nowadays, I mean, it's amazing. It's really amazing. Or you look at the 8-color cytofluorometry that Alberto uses, or that we use in Barcelona, or in so many other places. Things are moving so quickly. I mean, you should get at any cost, because it is very funny, and still I should have it. I should have so many things, but I'm not a well-organized person. When Daniel Katowski retired, we had a fetch script. I mean, I don't know what is the reason the English people like using the German word. The German word. And we had a very nice fetch script that, and we edited the special book. And that was a book with jokes, basically. That was a number of Daniel Katowski friends making contributions. And there was very, very funny things there. There was somebody saying, "Oh, Danny, you know, with CLL was much easier when people like you and so many others were not around." Were not around. So, and you should try to get this book as well, because it's this one. I don't remember if I have it, but it's again Estella should have it, or Danny. Or Danny.
If you could go back a little bit to the experience that when you left Salamanca and went to Paris, how soon after finishing your medical degree?
No, that was as I taught you. I mean, I finished my medical studies in 1969. In 1969, Rodman had the opportunity of moving his chair from, well, not moving, but taking up a vacant chair here in Barcelona, and he was aware of the fact that I was a local person, and he said to me, "Well, do you want to come with me?"
So
right, then it was like something 5-6 years that we fully dedicated to internal medicine, and then we moved, and the department became split into people that went to lung medicine, others went to basically we were separated into 3: internal medicine, lung medicine, and hematology. And Rodman and I mean, we went to hematology. I mean, Rodman wanted to, at any cost, to have me at his side. And then, I mean, to get extra training, I said, well, I mean, it's because there was no good education on hematology these days. I mean, we're talking 1973, 74. So what are the places where to go? I mean, there were very few places. Mike Lewis in London, but Lewis was a hemoglobin person. Obviously Jean Bernard in Paris, and America, but America was like
too far
away. Yeah.
And Jean Bernard was a leading hematologist.
Jean Bernard was an intellectual, a leading hematologist, an intellectual. And he had, the ability of gathering many important people. I mean, just to mention a few, people like Seligman. I mean, you were mentioning the relationship between hematology was there, and Dosset, the Nobel Award, because of the HLA system, was there. The famous cytologist that we were mentioning, so many. He built up the first facility for bone marrow transplantation in France, and I was there. And what is the name of the? She is a doctor which is still very active and in international committees, and so she was a real leader, and plus she was an intellectual, which is one of the characteristics that Jacques-Louis Binet, that somehow Jacques-Louis Binet grew up in the context of the Jean Bernard before moving to Salpêtrière. And this is one of the characteristics that Jacques-Louis Binet also has, which is a high interest in literature, in painting, in architecture. You know, I mean, Jean Bernard, I always said that it is the very first person in which I realized that this, what the people say, that such and such person has an aura, you know? And I thought, well, the very first time I've seen an aura is with Jean Bernard. And it's, and he was very, very kind to me, and he even offered to me to stay in France and to look or to get a permanent position for me there. But I had, that was a difficult days, because I had my family was in Barcelona. We already got one of our daughters, so it was a kind of complicated decision. So, but Jean Bernard was really so powerful. He influenced even some aspects of the American hematology. His quarrels with Henry Kaplan were famous because of Hodgkin's disease, because they did work. So it is very difficult to identify Jean Bernard with a kind of a specific disorder, if one is promyelocytic leukemia. Because the famous studies...
Acute leukemia?
Yeah, promyelocytic, specifically...
PML.
Yeah, because PML, because so he was the very first one to demonstrate that continuous doses of daunorubicin could cure promyelocytic leukemia. That was his original contribution. But besides that, he was a big organizer. He was a politician as well. He dominated the biomedicine and what they call the INSERM, which is the Institute for Research in Medicine, that was fully dominated by these guys, particularly Jean Bernard.
There was a person in the early origins of FAB, a Claude.
Claude Sultan.
Claude Sultan.
Claude Sultan. Yeah.
Who apparently went between Paris and England.
That's correct.
And noticed that the way in which the diagnosis of myeloid blasts was being made was not identical in the same place. The granule count was a little bit different.
I don't know that very much. I mean, what were the specific contributions of Claude Sultan, but you are right. I mean, and he was very influential as well. He was really very, very influential, Claude Sultan. I think that unfortunately he passed away quite young. I mean, he died quite young.
I'm aware of that. I don't recall the cause of death.